What about you? Coconut?
Yeah.
I was joking, but okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say some real tropical.
What's up, guys? What's up, family? What's up? We are back with episode 6. Okay. Episode 6 of the Strands podcast. I am one of your hosts, Anthony. And this is
Melody.
And today we kind of have a interesting conversation ahead of us. We're kind of gonna
What's going on?
But yes, we're gonna have a conversation kind of breaking down and parsing through a conflict that we've had in the past, kind of the reason that it happened, from our different perspectives, things that we learned from it, things that we realized about ourselves from it. And it's gonna be a wild one. I feel like we're just gonna kind of go with the flow of where the conversation leads, but I'm excited to kind of go through it. I'm also terrified just because I don't know what exactly will show up. This is probably easily our most vulnerable one.
Yeah. It's actually the worst fight we've had in marriage.
Yeah.
The worst conflict we've had.
Yeah.
Thus far.
Yeah. So before we go deep into the worst fight we've ever, I'm gonna ask the random question of the day.
Okay.
In 3,
2,
1. If you were stuck in a room and it was an animal of any kind, what animal would you want to be stuck with? The room is just an empty, giant room.
Mm-hmm.
What animal, I'm kind of changing the question, but what animal do you think you could handle if you were stuck in a room alone with said animal?
Star.
Is what? A star?
Star is my family dog.
Okay,
back
so
home in California.
You think,
mm-hmm.
Let's understand this really quick.
Mm-hmm.
You think that if you're stuck with a 6-foot Great Dane in a room alone and he was attacking you, you will survive?
When did the attack come in?
You had to be stuck in a room.
Stuck in the room. You never said anything
okay,
about
that's the
attacked.
point. The point is you have to defend yourself from said animal.
Oh, so the animal's aggressive.
Yes, you have to defend yourself from said
animal. A fish in a fish bowl.
Oh, the disappointment. Oh.
You said the animal was
okay. You can't pick an aquatic animal in a freaking land room like
an ant.
That's an insect.
You said animal. Insect is an animal.
No, it's not.
It's an animal.
No, it's not. No.
When God said, Adam, name all the animals, he didn't say animals, insects, aquatic.
So why do you think that he named insects were part of that situation?
They were part of the animals. Yeah. What you want me to
All right, that's fine.
You already know I don't like
an
animals.
Insect.
I'm scared of anything.
An ant. She's gonna pick that's the biggest animal that she can.
A hamster. I don't know. Something that's not gonna hurt me. Okay. What are you picking?
The whole point of this was just destroyed. It'd probably be a dog, but
No, you can't do that one.
Why?
Because you said it's attacking.
Yeah, I would attack it back.
Okay.
if my life depended on it.
I want you to pick something harder. That's why I say you can do that.
Oh, a wolf. I'll be destroyed. Completely cooked. No survival at all.
Okay, you don't have to pick a wolf. I don't want you to be destroyed.
Thank you. I have the chance of surviving with an angry dog.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, that didn't go how I wanted it to go. You have
Okay,
an ant over here.
Let me ask a question then.
Okay.
Let's see.
3, 2, 1.
What is your favorite exotic fruit?
Exotic fruit.
Mm-hmm.
Is pineapple? Is pineapple exotic?
I guess.
But what counts as exotic fruits?
I'm thinking like, I asked this question.
Like, are we talking about like when you said exotic? I feel like you meant tropical.
Like okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I really wanted it to be like something like fruits that you don't usually see.
I guess dragon fruit.
Okay.
Is that exotic?
It is. Have you had it before?
Yeah.
Where?
Vitality Bowl.
Oh.
Yeah, I've not had like the fruit in its like raw form.
Mm-hmm.
I've only had it like, processed in some form, like cut up or blended. But dragon fruit, it's pretty good. Or pitaya, I think that's the same thing. Maybe, but yeah. What about you? Coconut?
Yeah.
I was joking, but okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say some real tropical or what's the word? Exotic, but
coconut.
I have not. Well, don't say it like that. I've not had a lot of exotic fruits, so coconut is my answer. It was in Togo.
Exotic.
Oh yeah, agbalumo is exotic.
Hands down, forget dragon fruit.
No, you have to explain what agbalumo is.
Agbalumo, for those who are unaware, is an African cherry. It is.
I don't know what the English word.
African cherry.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I think so. But yeah, it's basically like a sweet and sour fruit with a couple of seeds inside, covered with like this like gum resin. It's pretty delicious. Definitely a messy.
It's okay. Okay. The reason why I say that is because.
What? Explain.
Since I've known you, I feel like you really hyped it up. I feel like I
forget the hype.
I was like,
did you enjoy it?
It was okay. I mean, it was.
So you're taking coconut over that one?
Absolutely, hands down.
Moving on, guys.
Absolutely.
Moving on.
Absolutely.
Coconut,
yes.
Over agbalumo.
Mm-hmm. I love coconut, so.
Coconut is such a one-dimensional fruit.
Why?
It's just.
I feel like that's an insult.
I meant it as an insult. It's just.
It's just what?
White inside, you have water. They sometimes.
At least you have more than one thing that comes in the fruit.
Yeah, same with agbalumo.
What do you have?
Seeds, and you have the meat on the side.
The seed?
You eat the part over the seeds.
No, that's a huge. The same thing as the
but it's different.
We're not about to argue.
It's a different texture.
No, with the coconut, you have the water, and you still have the meat that you can actually eat.
Babe.
Agbalumo, you only have the meat.
I'm so confused.
Why are you confused?
You're really trying to argue right now that coconut.
Yes, coconut.
Coconut. Baby, coconut.
Yes.
It's better than agbalumo.
It is better. Okay. We can't continue
Moving on
to talk about this.
Before I explode.
Why you explode?
Yeah, so we're just gonna kind of recant the conflict. Honestly, at least for me, I've forgotten the specific details, so we might not share that many details. It's not because we're avoiding it, it's just because it's not in our heads. But I think
this was the biggest, the biggest argument.
So it might just be trauma, like just us, repressing it. But
I think it has something to do with a dream.
Dang, was it?
Because I think we had a similar similar conflict, but I feel like this was the first one.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't a dream. I think it was like us disagreeing on like a theological thing, like a topic that we saw on different angles. I don't know if it was like speaking in tongues or like deliverance or something.
Really?
And yeah,
I must be mixing it up with another.
Yeah, that was the one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And basically the main gist of the conflict, and interject if I am leaving out any key points, was we were arguing over a theological like topic, either like tongues or deliverance, or I don't even something controversial in our in that conversation. And as we kept talking about it, it started to get very heated. So I'm raising my voice, she's raising her voice. There's a lot of like cutting each other off, a lot of pettiness.
And I feel like usually in arguments, I don't tend to raise my voice a lot. But I feel like in this situation, I don't know if I was like around my cycle or what it was, but I kind of lost it a little bit and started like raising my voice and low-key yelling at you. And that's not usually me. But
yeah, I would say, and you can correct me if this is my character, then I got to work on it. But I do think that that conflict was out of character for both of us. But nonetheless, it happened, and we did have a conversation and apologize to each other after. But I do feel like there's a lot that can be learned from just kind of reflecting over it and talking about it. So
yeah, I think when we started raising our voices at each other, I think I got to a point where I kind of just got fed up and I like stormed out. Like I just was like, I walked away. I went into, because we were having this conversation in the dining room. Like I was kind of in the kitchen in the dining room. And then when it got to a point where it was really, really heated, I walked away, went into the closet, closed the door. And I remember you still saying something. I think you were asking me a question, or you were still talking, and I just closed the door.
I remember what I said.
You want to share it?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was just out of the heat of the moment. I was just like, "Why are you just gonna walk away?"
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. I don't remember the exact words, but yeah. So I guess on first, like your first thoughts on it, what are some things that why do you feel like it went so downhill so fast? Went downhill so fast.
I think I'm really trying to remember like the beginning of the conversation, but I think that I came into the conversation in defense mode already, because I feel like I was already like I think this was something that we already disagreed on like prior, but we hadn't really like had a full-on conversation into it. So I already like was coming into the conversation knowing that you were going to take a different stance. So I was basically trying to defend my stance, basically. So yeah, I feel like I should have came into it with a little bit more trying to hear you out more than I want to defend what I'm saying. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Are you okay?
My throat just got really like... I'm good.
You want some water?
No, it's okay. Okay, I can get water.
So, I think you were mentioning something about the defensive causing you to come into the conversation with a certain disposition.
Yeah.
Which I think is something that we've learned a lot through our conflicts, is that, coming into conversations with a defensive mindset can almost put the conversation in a negative space, regardless of whether I'm coming and I'm being like, I love you. Like it would just, it's kind of hard to be in that space. Like the energy naturally shifts a certain way. And if you're dealing with a person who, you know, struggles with pride or in that moment is having a pride or ego issue, they can fight back and meet that defensiveness with their own defensiveness, right? And then it's just this back and forth. And so I think that's a huge thing that we've learned. But I think as well on my side, a huge thing, and I don't know if this is for all men, but I know for me, when there is a sense that I'm being disrespected, it puts me in a space of also defensiveness, but also I'm on the offensive. Like now I'm trying to, I guess not even disrespected is the right word. If I feel belittled, like I go on the offensive. So like now I'm trying to belittle the person. And I think, and it's sad because it doesn't even matter if the person is legitimately belittling me. As far as my emotions and my feelings are like, oh my gosh, you're being belittled. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Start gaslighting me? Like I just go into that space. And I think one of the things that I am learning or trying to feel deep inside my body at all times is that we are from different backgrounds, different viewpoints, different perspectives.
Yeah.
And what she might say that may, in my background, in my context, may come off as disrespectful or belittling, in her context might not be.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, as difficult as it is, I have to trust that what she is saying is out of love, right? And I think that's the difficult part, is that even if, I think the hardest part is that even if it is in a defensive tone, even if I sense that there's some negative emotions attached to whatever is being expressed, like I still need to believe that deep down you love me. Yeah. And you're not intentionally trying to hurt me. Yeah. And the best thing that I can do in that moment is communicate to you that I didn't like how that you said that, or how you did that, because then it teaches you, right, how to interact with me. Now, if you continue to do it, then now you're blatantly disrespecting me, and now that has to be a conversation that we have. But I think not just outright, not giving you the benefit of the doubt that you actually are trying to care for me, or you have malicious intent. I think that's a big thing. That conversation, I feel like it was just, it caused me to be so frenetic with my energy, just because I was so fired up by just those emotions registering in me of like, dang, you're being belittled. And I think as a man, I don't want to generalize, because I know all men are not me, but for me, like my pride gets bruised easily in those, when it comes to belittling and all that, just because it feels as if, it translates to other things, like if you're belittling me in this situation, why would you not do it in this, this, and this? You know what I mean?
Can you remember in the conversation what about it felt like I was belittling you?
So I think, and this is something that, I know you don't do on purpose, right? But I think you usually would say things like, no, right? Like legitimately we'll be having a conversation, a disagreement, and I will express my point and she'd be like, no. And
Really?
And
Wow.
And she doesn't mean it as like, your point is stupid, you're dumb, why would you say that? She's just literally saying, oh no, that's not what I mean. Or no, I don't see what you're saying, I don't agree. But the way she says it, it's like, dude, why would you even utter those words? Like, are you serious?
That's what is
That's how I receive it. Is like, dude, why would you even like? How could you express that? Like that makes no sense. And so in my head, I'm like, no, I have to defend my point now because it's being attacked.
I feel like this is making more sense, like with some of our other like misunderstandings or arguments. I feel like I have sensed you, or I've heard you say something like this, where it's like, I'm basically saying like, why would you even say that? Or like, it's like the way I'm responding to you is giving you the idea that I'm like, what you're saying is stupid.
Yeah.
Basically, like I didn't realize it was the way that I'm like responding to what you're saying.
Yeah, and I know that you're not saying no to do that. I know it's just probably a way in your head of starting your response,
my point,
your rebuttal or whatever. But in my head, it's just like, no. What do you like? What do you mean? Like it's just my thoughts. Like it can't be no. Like I don't think I said anything that wild, kind of thing. It's like that's where it feels like a belittling because now when you say no and then you say no ABC, it presents ABC as if this is the truth, right? And there's no room for anything else.
Everything else is just trash.
Yeah.
Interesting. I feel like this is the first time it's actually like really making sense. Yeah. To me.
Wow.
It makes me more want to go into like those type of spaces with more awareness of how I respond to you, and making sure to not say it in a way that it makes you feel as though everything you said makes no sense, and it's like the way I'm portraying it, like just being more intentional with how I respond back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. An interesting thing you said, the way it makes you feel. And I knew you. I know you know this, but it's just, I guess, in terms of conflict, wanting to talk about it as well, right? We are in charge of our own emotions, right?
We learned this when we were in couples counseling. Before we got married. Premarital
counseling. We are in charge of our own emotions. So a person, like, emotions are fleeting, and a person cannot make you feel something. You choose to feel that way. Like everything we do, we make choices, whether it's small or big. We're making choices. This person said no to my response, and I'm choosing to be upset. Right? Or I'm choosing to take it as disrespect or belittling or whatever the case may be. Does not mean that because she said that I have no choice but to then respond with that, right?
Anger. It's not you made me feel anger. It's I responded with anger at what you said.
Yeah. Now, this doesn't mean that because emotions are my like responsibility that there's no
part I play.
Part that she plays. There's no accountability on her part on what she says to me or does to me. I think it's a matter of understanding that, one, if I feel something that is hurtful and those emotions are negative and painful to me, my job is to express that. She will not know unless it's expressed. Right? So if I don't tell like, yo, when you say no, like, I just don't like that. Like, it just makes it seem, and I express all of that, she will never know. Right? No pun intended. And so if you keep doing that, right? Usually what will happen is, because we're not robots and, you just program and it never happens again. What usually happens is she will say, do said thing and then be like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean it in that way.
Right.
And it clarifies it for me. It helps in that communication. So it's not about her necessarily walking on eggshells.
You're right.
Right? It's more of like, I have more understanding of you, and I know how my words can hit you, right? What your natural, like, how you might take it. And so even though I've dropped this, like, I still have the choice to be angry or not.
Yeah.
But she also still has a choice to, the fact that she says she loves me, to make sure that the words that she's saying are not harmful to me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
I feel like that was a really good point that you made. I feel like a lot of times in relationships and relationships, because you told this person that you don't like it when they do this, sometimes we have the expectation that they're never going to do it again. And I feel like there are times where, like, that's why I'm really grateful for the way that you are with me. I feel like you give me a lot of grace. Like, even like there's an issue that to this day I feel like I am still working on, and I'm grateful that you don't hold it over my head or make me feel like a terrible person because I'm still struggling with this. I feel like you're still like, you still give me grace. Like, I don't know if I should just share what it is.
It's up to you. I don't know what you're talking about, though.
So it's usually in places where we're in conflict or like we're upset. I'm not really good at being the one to like come to you to like, if you're upset about something or you're frustrated about something. I struggle. I'm working through it by the grace of God to be more willing to like come to you and be more open and have like be patient with you on allowing you to work through it and not closing myself off because you're upset. And this has been something that we've kind of had as an issue since we were dating. And sometimes I think I don't know if you would say it, but I feel like I'm
think you're
doing
better for
sure. But I feel like I always think about it, and sometimes I'm disappointed in myself when it happens because I'm like, this is something he's expressed that he doesn't like that you do, and you're still doing it. But you never like say those stuff to me. You're always like, it's okay, baby. Like, I know you're working, and I know you're not perfect, and you're gonna fall short. And you give me a lot of grace. And I feel like a lot of times, like in relationships, people are like, you keep doing this thing, and you're like, how can you love me if I tell you this thing and you're still doing it? Like, you don't really love me. And it's like, a lot of the times, these are habits or these are coping mechanisms that people have learned through trauma, through childhood, through whatever. And it's really hard to break out of this response. It's not that easy. So I feel like having that consideration of giving the other person grace to also like, they may still make that same mistake again, but giving them grace to know that, you know, it's not going to be perfect, but they're putting the work towards it.
Yeah. It's really good. What, if you can remember, what during that conversation from my side do you feel like didn't help the situation, to put it lightly?
Man, I really wish I remember a lot of stuff from this argument. I think not backing down I feel like would be something I would say didn't help, because when it got to the point where I was raising my voice and I was getting angry and frustrated, I feel like we both were like at the same level and someone needed to back down. And I feel like because it started becoming like almost like a competition, it just was not. I feel like that's why I needed to get out of the situation. Like, I needed to like step away. So it was just like that back and forth. Like, yeah, I feel like that didn't really help. But I also was doing the same thing.
No, but I think that's a beautiful thing to point out, right? As a guy, as a man, as a husband, right? I'm called to die to myself. And a close friend of mine, hopefully we have him on the podcast soon, always talks about, you know, choosing what hill to die on, right? And as someone who's called to die to myself for my bride, right? I shouldn't really have a lot of hills to die on. And I think that was definitely not one of them. If it's an argument on something minor theologically, when it comes to things that we don't view as like we need to both agree on this for us to be okay, right? For me to be like trying to be the one with the last voice and, have the last laugh or whatever the case may be is just a poor representation of Ephesians 5. Like, and I think it's interesting that you point that out, because I do think it de-escalates almost every situation you're in when you humble yourself. You swallow your pride, you die to yourself, right? And you choose to honor the person, right? Because that's what you're doing. Is like, I honor our relationship, I honor this moment, and it's funny, like that day, like we're trying to, it's a Sabbath, we're trying to rest, we're trying to, enjoy each other and have fun and just have a good day. And because I'm trying to win one stupid argument and not dying to myself, not swallowing my pride, not honoring my wife, right? Like, it ruins that. And yes, thankfully God, with his mercy and his grace, allowed that to be redeemed. But these are how arguments start, and marriages are going into divorce because one person said something one time over the dinner table and hasn't stopped. Like, is not giving up, kind of thing. So I think that's a huge thing. I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I think a lot of the times as a guy, sorry y'all, as the card got full, but what I was saying was a lot of times I feel like men can get caught up in wanting to be right, wanting to, things to fall their way. And again, I don't want to generalize. If you're a guy that's not like that and you're screaming at the screen, I'm sorry. I feel like that is a tendency that I have. And I think a part of dying to myself is realizing that if I'm in a conversation that doesn't matter, right? Like, and not doesn't matter in the fact that I don't like care about, my wife's opinion or whoever else's opinion, but in the sense that me conceding my point doesn't matter more than our relationship, then I should just concede my point if it's getting to that level, right? Like, if at the end of the day she was like, she conceded to my side of things, but we, we're just angry the whole time, we didn't communicate, it wouldn't make any sense. It wouldn't be beneficial at all. And so, I think scripture even talks about, that in Ephesians 5 of, I think dying to yourself as a conflict resolution is important to realize. It's like, I can't expect to win every argument. I shouldn't want to, quote unquote, win things if we're on the same team, right? Like, the point should be we stay focused on the main goal, right? Main goal of winning, our marriage being a winning thing and not us being opponents.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's good. I was going to ask, what's something that I didn't make easier?
I think there's like a little quirk of yours, but you like laugh. She laughs in like the most intense moments. And so imagine if you're just like expressing your heart out, and it's overwhelming for her, right? Rightfully so. She's really upset. She's having a hard time articulating herself. She's overwhelmed. And I'm expressing myself and I'm getting really passionate.
Yeah.
And then she's like smiling.
Yeah.
I'm just like, is this a joke to you?
Yeah.
And I think I'm getting better at just like recognizing it.
Yeah.
But I
don't know why I do this.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I need to express the emotions. I need to get it out in some way. And sometimes it's just by laughing. And it's so weird. I literally don't know why. But yeah, any like intense situations when I'm like angry, frustrated, and like I just can't wrap my head around my emotions, I respond with laughing.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it. I really am.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've gotten better. It's been a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we also
haven't had
like that deep of it. Usually only happens in the most intense of arguments. Like you're not just laughing at me. At all times. So
it's like when it's at the worst, which is the worst. Like why is it then?
And it's honestly very difficult for me to like. For me to move on, because I'm just like mentally like, is she laughing at me right now? Yeah. And even though I'm like aware that like you're not laughing at me, you're just having a hard time like emotionally. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, bro, I can't talk to someone who's laughing. Yeah. In the midst of being serious, like. But other than that, I think the conversation really came, like the conflict really came down to two people who weren't willing to concede, right? I would say on my side, I was dealing with a lot of pride, a lot of insecurity with, feeling belittled and feeling as if I was being disrespected and wanting to be right. And clashing with someone who is already feeling defensive because she feels her views need to be protected instead of being heard. Right, like it just the clash isn't good. Yeah, and
I think also like with females and emotions and cycles, I feel like also that being a part. I feel like some of our bigger clashes have been during that time. So I feel like also that also being part of my side, why the clashing was happening. I was behaving a lot more out of character than I usually do. Because my body was going through things.
Yeah. But also a thing that I wanted to point out in that conversation, we were very far apart visually. Like if if this was a film,
I was running away because I was running away because we started in the bedroom. This conversation started in the bedroom. I go into the kitchen. And you're still talking to me in the kitchen. Then I go into the dining room, and you follow me into the dining room. And then when the tipping point where I blew up, I ran away completely and left the situation. So I do feel like you were still trying to like...
That's not my perspective on it, but that's interesting.
I feel like you were still trying to come to me, even though we were clashing, but I was like running away.
I wouldn't say I was, but I appreciate you giving me that benefit.
No, coming to me as in like you're like, let's have this match. Let's talk. let's do this like type of thing. Because I kept moving. Yeah, and I think about it. Yeah, I kept moving, and you were like, no, let's talk this out. Even when I left to go into the you're still like, are you just gonna walk away? It was definitely we weren't close.
Yeah, I think, like visually, like if someone was recording that, you could feel like the distance, like the tension was there. Yeah. And I think something that, a pastor who did our other premarital counseling with us, he shared this nugget, which I think about from time to time, is the importance of physical contact, right? Like, it's kind of hard to stay angry at someone who is touching you. Yeah. Right? And I'm not saying that you just go be touching everybody. But in terms of like spouses, right? Marriage relationships, literally just some form of contact, I think subconsciously and I don't know the science of this, but for me, it subconsciously reminds me that we're together in this. Yeah. Right? And even for myself, I don't go out of character when I'm like close to her in that proximity.
Yeah. It's kind of hard for you to be raising your voice and like you're holding me at the same time. I'm just like, like that will it makes no sense. So I think that's a really interesting or a really good thing to remember is that, if you're having a conflict and God is giving you the grace, I don't know if a lot of people have this ability, but where you can step out of the situation for a second and think, how can I stop this before it goes? That could probably be it. You just remind yourself, hey, like maybe I should just, go hold her hand, go, rub her
body or whatever the case may be, just to remind each other that like, yo, we're like, we're a team.
We're married.
We love each other. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think that's a really good thing to remember.
I had a question.
Yeah.
Do you remember how this was resolved? Like play by play, how the situation was resolved? So
I can tell you my perspective.
Okay.
So I remember after being like, yo, you're just gonna walk away? Right? A little thug cry. You know what I'm saying? I didn't cry. But just emotionally, like, you know, upset. She had like, I think we're about to eat. Mm-hmm. She took her bowl to the bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm on the dining table. I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Then she comes back, puts her bowl in the freezer. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're not eating.
I put it in the freezer because it was a smoothie bowl.
Right.
Like
Yeah, that's
bowl.
a good point. Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, she's not just putting jollof in the freezer.
Why is she putting it in the freezer?
It was meant to go in the freezer. And I'm just like, I'm literally talking with myself internally. I can't believe it. She just like walked out on me. Like, we're supposed to have these conversations. How can she walk out on me? And I'm eating. I'm just eating, and I'm just like consuming it. I'm eating, and then I'm done. I'm just like, bro, this is why the heck? I gotta die to myself, bro. And I'm literally talking myself into it. And so I finally get to a place where I feel like the Holy Spirit has convicted me thoroughly of just like, bro, you've messed up big time and you need to go apologize. But it was such a big argument that I didn't just want to come in there like, I'm sorry, you know, I'm a bad person kind of vibe. I wanted to be honest as much as I could and give her the space to, if she wanted to be like, yo, you can't just say sorry and I'm supposed to be like, good. Like giving her the space that she needed to kind of recuperate. So I went to the room and
you went to the closet.
I went to the closet.
A little knock.
I knocked. And I think she were on the floor, so I laid down.
Yeah, and I was like not having it. I was
like,
no. I was like, baby, like I was low key pushing her away.
Yeah, she wasn't trying to have physical contact. Yeah. And I expressed my apology and let her know that, you know, if you need a second to gather yourself, gather your thoughts, if you want to still express, you know, how you're feeling, I'm here for it and I'm really sorry. Yeah. And yeah.
Okay, I'll express from my point of view. So I was very angry. I feel like it takes a lot for me to get angry. So when I do get angry, it's like it's all like I feel the emotion. So I needed to remove myself. Because I also think I realized that I was yelling at you and I don't like that. And I feel like I'm really with you. I've like expressed that I don't like it. Like when you raise your voice, whether emotions are heated or whatever. And I didn't like the fact that I was doing that to you, knowing that was something I didn't like. So I was like, I need to get away from the situation. So I went into the room. I took my smoothie. The plan was to eat it in there. But because I was so, like, the emotions were so much, I just couldn't eat. So I was like, let me go put it in the freezer.
I'll eat whenever, man.
And then I came back into the closet and I was just processing. And I was basically talking to God. And I was like expressing, and I was like, God, am I in the wrong? And I'm just asking God, like, all these questions. I'm like, did I do something wrong? Am I supposed to apologize? Like, I knew that I should have apologized too, but I was still so deep in those emotions that I just was like ignoring every conviction, everything. I just didn't want to deal with it in that moment. And when I heard you knock, I was like, oh man, I'm still angry. So yeah, I was like, I don't want to talk right now. So I was pushing you away just to like, I'm not ready to deal with the situation. I do feel like when it comes to conflict, I'm someone that naturally I run. I don't like conflict. And I'm starting to, this was a big thing in our dating time. And I'm starting to get to an understanding that conflict is not necessarily bad. It's how we make it through. It's how we we grow from it. It's how we learn from it. That's important.
Yeah.
But that situation, I didn't want to deal with it. But when you came in, you were trying to hold me, you were trying to talk to me. The reason why I was able to kind of like release the anger and the frustration was because I looked into your eyes and I could see the genuineness. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Like how genuine you were about making sure I understood how sorry you were. I feel like a lot of times, or not in our situation, but sometimes people might say sorry just to say it, just to move past the situation, and not really truly mean it or not really truly ponder on it. And I felt like when you came into the closet with me, it felt like you really like processed it and you knew that I was really hurt, and you just wanted me to know like how much you loved me and how like sorry you were that this has gotten to this point. And you said a lot of things in that time, but I think the main thing that I really received was how you were disappointed in yourself and how you allowed it to go, and how like you treated me in that situation. And that genuineness really softened me and softened my heart to be open to, reconciliation and all that. And yeah, I really wanted to commend you on that, because I feel like sometimes like people can allow their pride to be so important to them, or so like at the forefront of their emotions, that they don't realize how much they're hurting their partner or hurting like the other person. And I feel like I commend you for allowing the Holy Spirit to talk to you and minister to you, even though in that point I wasn't doing that. I wasn't allowing it to sit with me. I really appreciate you letting it sit with you, so that you would come to me and like show me how much you felt like this was unnecessary situation that didn't need to happen. But yeah.
Thank you. I definitely dropped the ball though, so I don't know if I can accept that, but I appreciate you saying that.
You made it up. I feel like you did better than I did. Like
I don't know if no.
Why?
Because I think something I was gonna say too is that I wanted you to also know in that moment that your feelings are valid. Because I do think I didn't want the idea to be that like the emotions of anger that you felt were like wrong. I do think, right, like, there's nothing wrong with anger. It's what happens out of it that's really important, right? Like, I forget the scripture, I feel like it's James, where it talks about, human anger doesn't produce the righteousness that God desires. And so it's like, our anger can cause us to do something that's just, can cause us to act in a way that is, a way that God will approve, but majority of the time it doesn't, right? It's not, like, naturally it's not going to do that, but I feel like in your anger, right, like, I wouldn't necessarily call it righteous anger per se, but I think I just wanted you to know that you were angry for the right reasons. Like, you were wronged, right? And
so were you, though.
Yeah, for sure. But I think those two things can be true.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want you to feel as if because I'm apologizing and you felt the sincerity that like, oh man, I should feel bad because I'm angry. And that's, I don't know if you did or not, but I just wanted you to know that like what I did was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, I'm apologizing for a reason because I did something wrong.
No, but I still feel like it was something to be commended for, because you put your pride aside. I was still struggling with that in that moment, to put my pride aside and come to you to like reconcile and but you were able to put your pride aside despite the way the situation went and how heightened our emotions were.
God is good. God is good. I don't deserve it at all. But so I feel like that's a good place to stop.
Yeah.
I think, key takeaways, just for conflict resolution, things that we've learned so far in our marriage is to communicate with physical contact, especially in conversations that you might have a feeling this might get heated.
Yeah.
It might be a really good idea to have some physical contact.
Yeah.
To be honest about how you're feeling. Obviously, your partner is not going to read your mind.
Right.
And so if you felt disrespected by a certain comment, just say it then and there before everything else that they say after that, you're reading into it as like, oh, yeah, she definitely disrespected me. And
Yeah, to add as well, remember that it's a team. Like, you're not fighting against each other. You're not fighting as a competition on who's right and who has the final say. But you're fighting for your marriage. You're fighting for this relationship. So having that as the forefront of your mind, that's like we're doing this together. Yeah.
Teammates, yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching episode 6 with us. We have been trying to be consistent.
Yes.
Still working out some kinks with different stuff, but we are definitely appreciative of your support, the comments, sharing it. Just all the wisdom that you guys are dropping. It is just a blessing.
Thank you.
So thank you guys so much. Obviously, this episode is a testament to the fact that we are imperfect, and we have issues, but we hope that us being vulnerable and sharing our experiences can be helpful to not only people who are in marriages and have spouses, but people who are one day looking forward to being a spouse, that they can understand that fights happen, arguments happen, disagreements happen, but it doesn't mean that the marriage is over, right? I feel like society might paint this picture that you will never have an argument, that's serious with your spouse if they're really your person. And I think that's a lie.
A big fat lie.
I feel like that's just a way to make people, divorce happen, right? A fight happens and it's like, cool, let me go find someone else I'm not fighting with. And I think that's an evil thing.
Yeah.
So, we love you guys. Respectfully. We love you guys and are really appreciative, again, of your support. We will see you guys next week. We're doing it. Peace.